Are you lost in the gap between where you are and where you want to be? Because everyone talks about the mindset and the action, but what about that delay between the action and the results when you're doing all the right things, but then those results haven't actually shown up yet? And then you start feeling this internal resistance of the gap. And this gap is where most people quit. And it's because of everything that comes up and what they are feeling. Now, I'm going to go through some of the common feelings that come up. We've got frustration, where you're doing the work every single day, but then when you check, nothing's changed. The numbers are the same, the results aren't there, and you just want to scream, what am I doing wrong? Then you've got isolation. You feel completely alone in it. No one around you seems to understand what you're building or why it matters. It feels like you can't share your struggles because they just don't get it. So then you stop talking about it, and now you're just sitting alone with it. Comparison. Someone who started after you is now somehow already ahead, or someone who's seemingly putting in less effort than you now has a better result. And then you start thinking, what's wrong with me? Exhaustion. You're tired, and I don't just mean physically tired. You're tired of showing up but with nothing to show for it. Tired of explaining to people what you're working on when there's no proof yet. Tired of believing in something that hasn't yet materialized. Invisibility. Nobody sees those hours. Nobody sees the sacrifice. Nobody sees you showing up every single day in the dark. All they get to see is the result. And right now, they're invisible. Self-doubt. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should just go back to what is safe. And that voice often gets louder and louder the longer you're in that gap with little to show. Impatience. How much longer? You keep asking yourself, how much longer do I have to keep doing this before something happens? And the thing is, you don't have an answer. And that kind of uncertainty consumes you. Shame. You've told people what you are doing, and now they've asked, how's it going? And you've had to say, I'm still working on it for now the 6th time. And you feel like you're failing even though you're not. You're just not there yet. And all these feelings can hijack you right when you're building your foundation. It's important to know that every single result that you want demands that evolution of you first. Just remember, feeling this way doesn't mean you're failing, because the gap isn't failing you, it's actually growing you. And growth can show up in many different patterns. It's not just a straight line to the results you want. Now, I'm going to go through 4 examples of what growth can look like when you're in the gap and why people quit. So, example 1, you've plateaued for weeks or months, but then suddenly you have that breakthrough to the next level. But then you're plateauing again before the next breakthrough. And a lot of people quit during that plateau period thinking nothing is happening. Example 2, you're doing the work, but nothing's happening. And this time I'm talking like months and months or even years. And it feels like you're just stuck. But then, boom, out of nowhere, everything just clicks. But most people quit during that very long period of invisible progress. Example 3. And this one happens a lot. It's that those little daily progress or results, and it's only after looking back, months and months later that you see how much has changed. And people quit because it feels so slow compared to everyone else's overnight success. Now we've got example 4, where you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and it feels messy, unpredictable. But overall, you're actually still making progress. But people quit during those dips, thinking that they're going backwards instead of being able to zoom out and see the bigger picture and the progress. The key takeaway here is that growth doesn't look the same for everyone, and it's often very different from goal to goal. And sometimes progress doesn't even feel like progress. But the problem isn't how you grow. The problem is expecting it to look one way and then quitting when it doesn't. But now the question becomes, how do you know you're just not wasting your time and your effort? Because that's the real fear, isn't it? Well, I'm going to tell you straight. You're absolutely wasting your time if you're doing the same thing and expecting different results. You're avoiding the hard parts. You haven't actually done the work on the inside. You can't describe what you've learned, and you're not actually executing, because the gap demands your evolution. It demands the growth, and that is exactly how you get the results you want. Okay, so now you understand that results can be delayed, but how do you actually know if you're moving forward? Well, there are two scoreboards, an external and an internal. So from the outside, it may look like no visible results. You're in the same place. Others are ahead of you. But then on the inside, you're building skills, strengthening your belief. You're trusting yourself more. You're able to adapt faster to change and uncertainty. And that's a big one right there. You're letting go of, or you're able to let go of what's holding you back. You're able to learn to manage your emotions during those highs and lows of the gap. Remember, the gap will always give you that opportunity to grow and adapt without losing momentum. It's this internal scoreboard that matters most to your evolution. Because this is exactly when you're building the skills, the resilience, and the awareness that your next level demands. Evolution compounds. It's not one and done. The gap doesn't guarantee the outcome, but it guarantees the growth. And that's how you get your edge.